Okay, Catherine. Our app is coming along,
Yeah.
but there is one major problem with it.
What's the problem?
Well, it only orders 2 cups of coffees.
What's wrong with 2 cups of coffee?
Well, 3 is better than 2, 4 is better than 3. Sometimes I need more.
Okay, I get it. You need more coffee. So what I can do is just change the code so that instead of 2, it just says 3.
Okay, so in our code here, we will need to change the number of cups of coffees here and here.
Yeah.
So what if I want 10 cups of coffees for myself and my friends later on?
You have that many friends? Oh. Well, okay, we need something else then.
Yeah, we need a better solution.
How about, oh, I know. We can use variables.
Variables? As in something that varies?
Yeah, a variable doesn't have a fixed value. You can think of a variable like a box. Like this.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is a variable, it's a box, and you can put a value inside of it.
It says int.
Yeah, int stands for integer.
Okay, so you can put an integer or a number inside of this box.
Exactly, and you can even give it a name.
Let's call it number of cups of coffees ordered.
Okay. Way to pick a long name. Ordered. Barely fits.
Okay.
Okay. So now we can refer to this variable using this name in the code instead of putting the value 2.
Okay.
And later we can also update it if we want. So let's put the value inside now. How are we going to do that?
Well, I have some Post-its.
Where did those come from?
Let's call the number of cups of coffees ordered to be 2.
Why only 2?
One for me and one for my friend Catherine.
Thank you. So now we have a variable that is called number of coffees ordered, and it holds the value 2.
Let's implement this in our code.
Before, we were using a literal value to represent the quantity of coffee cups ordered. A literal means a fixed value, like the number 2. Technically, the 5 and this 2 are also literal values, but we're just talking about using literals for the quantity right now. So if we say the quantity is 2 cups of coffee ordered, then when we calculate the price, we have to do 2 times 5, since each cup is $5. If we want to charge the customer for a paper cup, because they didn't bring their own cup and they like to waste trees, then we charge them $2 per cup. So that's 2 cups times $2. When we use a literal, you can see that it's not ideal because we have to keep repeating the quantity number over and over again. On the other hand, we can use a variable to represent the quantity of coffee cups ordered. So if we say the quantity is this variable called number of coffees, then when we calculate the price, we can just use that variable name, number of coffees, and multiply it by $5 a cup. To calculate the charge for the paper cup, again we take the variable name, number of coffees, and we just multiply it by 2 for $2. So the difference between these two is that instead of the actual literal value, we use a variable, and then the value of that variable will be substituted when we actually evaluate this expression. So when we go and calculate the price, we just have to go check what this value is before we multiply it by 5. The one additional step that you need to do when you use a variable is in the beginning to set the variable number of coffees to have an initial value. In this case, we set it to have an initial value of 2, which is also a literal. But this time we only use the literal in one place instead of in multiple places. The end result is still going to be the same because number of coffees will map to the value 2, so the quantity will still be 2, the price will still be 10, and the paper cup charge will still be 4. The real advantage to this approach is that you can change the variable value at any time. Say I want to change the number of coffees to be 3. I just need to change it in one place here, and then everything else is still accurate. The quantity is still the number of coffees, which now has a value of 3. The price is now number of coffees times 5, and the value is 3 times 5. And the paper cup charge is still number of coffees times 2, which is now 3 times 2. If we were using a literal, then we'd have to change the quantity to be 3 here, we'd have to update the price calculation to be 3 times 5, and the paper cup charge to be 3 times 2. So when we use a variable, we don't have to refer to the specific value each time. We can just refer to the variable name, and that will automatically get us the latest value in that variable. We can look more closely at what the actual code would look like for creating and using a variable. To create the variable, we say int number of coffees equals 2. This creates a variable for us with this name, number of coffees, and it puts the value 2 inside that variable box. These next 2 lines use the variable that we created on the first line in order to update the screen. So we can display the number of coffees, which involves looking at that variable and checking the value inside, which is 2, so we show 2 here. And then to display the price, we look at the value of the variable, number of coffees, which has 2 inside, and so we say 2 times 5 equals 10, and so the price is $10. I can easily change this code so that the number of coffees ordered is 3 instead of 2. For the box that represents our variable, number of coffees, now we put 3 as the initial value inside this variable. These 2 lines of code don't have to change though because we are using the variable name. When we call display number of coffees, the value in this variable is 3, so we show the quantity 3. To display price, we look at the value for the number of coffees, which is 3, and we multiply that by 5, so that gives us $15. This is what the code change would look like in Android Studio. Currently, it's using the literal value of 2 for the quantity. Instead, let's create a variable. I'll type int number of coffees 2. So now I have a variable with the value 2. By the way, this text is grayed out and it says variable number of coffees is never used because I never referred to it again, but I'm about to use it now. Instead of displaying the literal value 2, I'm going to switch it to use the variable name. It pops up as an autocomplete option, so you can just hit enter and it fills it in automatically for you. Then this variable name is no longer gray because now we've used it in at least one place. I can do the same for display price. Instead of using the literal value of 2, I'm going to change it to be the variable number of coffees, and I just hit enter to autocomplete. Technically, I could also create a variable for the price value of 5. However, it's only used in one place, so I might as well just leave it as a literal value. Okay, now let's save the code and run it on the device. And this is what it looks like on the device. When you hit order, the quantity is 2 and the price is $10. This is exactly the same behavior as before, but now our code is more robust. Robust means that the code is less prone to errors in the future. For example, if someone else was trying to change this code and they were trying to use the quantity in many other places, then they would have to change the number 2 in so many different places. Instead, if we use the variable number of coffees, then we only have to change it in one place and then everything will automatically update. This way, someone won't mistakenly miss a line of code that needs to have the latest number of coffees ordered. They only have to change it in one single place. Now before you go ahead and do this in Android Studio, I want you to first practice doing it in this quiz. Go ahead and type out this line of code right below it. This line of code will create a new integer variable, and these 2 lines will use the integer variable. The reason why I want you to practice this first is that you can pay attention to every single character when you type it. Otherwise, if you miss a character, you may get an error in Android Studio, and it may be hard to read the error message. So go ahead and type it exactly as you see it. This is helping you become aware of every single character here, whether it's a capital letter or a lowercase, or if there's no spaces, or if there is a space. You'll also start getting used to the rules of Java in terms of creating a variable or using a variable. And as you learned before, every Java code statement also has to end with a semicolon. If you type this incorrectly, for example, the variable name, that would give you an error in Java. However, other things are more conventional best practices. For example, adding a space before and after operators like this. If you don't follow this spacing, it won't give you an explicit error. However, it's just better programming practice to follow these code style conventions. That way it's easier to read your code. When you're done typing this out, go ahead and continue to the next video.